All right, let's play some slivers. We're on the draw, or on the play here, and I will keep this one. I like it. We can sliver hive right away. Just start dropping them down. Turn 2 diffuse and sliver. Turn 3 we give them vigilance. Let's see what our opponent's rolling out with here. Steam vents, shock, pass. Okay, I guess that means we're getting bolted or spell snared or whatever. Sort of, we're stopping in our draw step. Okay, no. I hope it was a spell snare. That would be the dream, right? If he shocked himself to hold up spell snare and we throw down Cavernous Souls. That's why you always try to hold the cavern as long as possible, because people do make decisions, when it's not in play. All right, so he's just gonna bolt our guy instead. That's fine. Now we need to draw non-land cards, but that's fine. Diffusion Sliver is very good against him. All right, so get down the Mutavault here. And these abilities stack, I believe, so that's even sillier. He can blow us out pretty hard with a sweeper, like a Pyroclasm or whatever, but otherwise he's going to have a very hard time interacting with our slivers, because with the Cavern they cannot be countered, and with the Diffusion Slivers they can't be targeted at this point either, so his burn spells have become very, very bad. And he can't beat it. This is why I wish Merfolk had Diffusion Sliver. It just wins games on its own. He probably didn't have a third land drop. All right. So that said, we still don't know what he's playing, I guess. I assume it's some sort of control deck, but it's not. At the very least, it's not Storm, I think. All right. So I don't know. He could have Delvers, so I don't know if we want the Siphon Sliver. I don't think we need the Sentinel Sliver. I'm going to get rid of the Siphon Sliver. We have the Dark Heart Sliver. It's an easier play as well. We don't know if Harmonic Sliver is any good either. I think it could be really good if he has Ascension, if he's some sort of a Pyromancer Ascension deck, which could just be plain Lightning Bolt. I mean, that's all he showed us. I think maybe we'll get rid of one Necrotic Sliver. Necrotic Sliver is very good, but it's if he's Storm or Delver, we're not necessarily going to have a lot of time on it. So let's try to roll out with this one. I like it. Aether Vial. Aether Vial is Frenetic Slivers. Frenetic Slivers help us protect our guys from removal. May even get to cast a Collected Company if our guys are protected from removal. Shocked again. Seer Visions. Okay. Still no clue what he's playing. Well, that could be good later. I misread this card earlier. He's actually playing Control. Okay, I misread the card earlier. I thought both were dependent on you having Swamp. It's not. It's just the Regenerate clause. Interesting. I always just assumed they were tied together. So what happens when you just read the whole card in a block of text rather than a little at a time. Okay, so this is actually a hard decision. I want to activate and swing, but he's just going to Lightning Bolt it, as he showed us he was perfectly willing to do. I don't know. It's not worth it. We only have 2 lands. I don't think it's worth doing that. Especially when we can actually protect some of our guys with the Frenetic Slivers. Alright, there's a Cavern. I like it. Can't actually cast Frenetic Sliver quite yet. I'm wondering how slow we can play this, because Frenetic Sliver is the big one here, and it gives the ability to all of our slivers. So what if we just do nothing? Yeah, I kind of like just doing nothing. At the end of his turn, we can Violin the Mana Weft. If the Mana Weft survives, we can collect a company. If it doesn't, we take our thing up to, it doesn't, that's fine, but we get to take our thing up to 3, at which point we play Sedge Sliver and violin a frenetic Sliver when he tries to kill it and try to save it. So it feels a little odd passing here and not playing any of our cards that we can play. But yeah, this is, it's a, this deck plays out a lot like Merfolk. I've learned that tempo decks can, it's just so clearly dead if we play it here. And it's so important to us because of this. I just don't want to do it. I'm not going to. Well, yeah, I'm just not going to. Anyways, I've learned playing Merfolk. You don't have to go that fast. You don't always, especially, well, this was just a good draw. This solves a lot of our problems. But you don't have to go that fast. People are always so worried about it's a tempo deck. You have to play your threats, but don't be afraid to play a long game. You have good cards, and you can go a lot farther if you make them work for it instead of just play guy, get guy bolted, play guy, get guy bolted, and they play Nahiri and kill you. And now I think I'm just content to pass again because we have Collected Company up at the end of the turn. Though we could also, now let's just go ahead and play a Sedge Sliver here. Let's go ahead and fetch first. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to fetch, we're going to shock ourselves with an Overgrown Tomb. We're going to play a Sedge Sliver. So we have the ability to regenerate it, and we have the ability to flash in Frenetic Sliver and try to save them that way. And it can't be countered. So there's just all kinds of problems if you're the control deck. He's going to have a hard time bolting our guy. He's going to have, or he can't counter our guy. It's so difficult for him. And he may even have a hard time angering the gods away our guys, thanks to the Frenetic Sliver flash in. So there's a decent spot for us here, and the idea is to try to try to win this card advantage game straight up with him, and then just cast Collected Company when the dust settles. So yeah, this is Sedge Sliver. This is why this card is so good. It presents a real problem for people. We'll go for this. Now, if this resolves, I'm going to put in this. Okay, that's fine. We'll regenerate this guy. This is smart of him to do this in response. Because once he lets it resolve, it'd be even more difficult for him. And even if he does kill this, we 2-for-1 him because of the regenerate. So pretty sick overall. Sure, it's dead. 2 of your burn spells to kill one of our guys. We have another one. And we will go ahead and use our Aether Vial to put in a Frenetic Sliver. Which is, of course, another huge problem for him. Now we can vial in our other Sedge Sliver. Or a Frenetic Sliver. Or we can just cast Collected Company. Which is sort of tempting, depending on what we draw. He's not countering us with Sacred Foundry, so he's probably looking at Path to Exile or Lightning Bolt in his hand. Okay. I just want to pull the I just want to main phase this Collected Company. I don't know if that matters, though. I mean, it doesn't get countered that way, but he's had to deal with our board anyways. I'm just going to cast it, though. Why not? We have the window to do it. Well, we can't regenerate our guys that way. Unless we hit, like, Mana Weft plus. But if we just hit, gosh, if we just play Mana Weft, though, we can play 1 Mana Weft, vial in the Sedge Sliver, have 2 regenerations up, plus the, I like this better. It's still going slow, still working hard to develop our board. We should attack first, but working hard to develop our board rather than just, hey, we can resolve Collected Company here. We can take our, in all likelihood, 2-for-1. But then what if, we anger the gods, comes down, and we have to Supreme Verdict, and we have to flip a bunch of coins, and maybe we don't do very well in the flips. I think we can go a little slower, play it safe, and just keep the board out of, essentially out of hand for him. This gives us more mana as well, I think. Well, We're only, yeah, so I'll have one regeneration here if we want it. I needed to not attack with it to do that, but I think that would have been fairly transparent. So we have one regeneration up plus the flip, and we have another copy of the Frenetic Sliver. So yeah, we're gonna go slow. We're gonna, you can approach this matchup a lot of different ways in these games, a lot of different ways. But right, so we'll go ahead and this doesn't trigger to the instep, huh? I almost want the land, but no, we're gonna go ahead and do this. All right. If this permanent is on the battlefield, flip a coin. If you win the flip, exile this permanent, return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. If you lose the flip, sack it. So it'd actually be at the end of his turn that it comes back since we're already in the end step. But let's see if we win the flip. Oh, always tails. Tails never fails. Tails, you won the flip. All right. Tails never fails. All right, so this is great because it's another. Just two of his removal spells have been completely blanked. The lightning bolt in that path to exile. The Frenetic Sliver is going to come back at the end of the turn. We can violate the Sedge Sliver and regenerate our mana left if he tries to kill it. And we still have Collected Company, as he's down to 3 cards in hand. For the moment in time when these Jeskai decks were playing Thopter's Sword as their win condition, you actually couldn't play like this against them because their end game was just too good for you. You couldn't beat it. Now that they're just Nahiri decks, Nahiri's just a planeswalker. That's fine. All right, well, there's a lot going on here, but I'm gonna go for the Sedge Sliver regenerate play. It's almost tempting to play the Frenetic Sliver and go for that instead. Maybe that's better. I think that's better. That way he doesn't get to just bolt our Sedge Sliver. Alright, it's tails. Oh, I lost the flip. Alright, it's down as it would have been anyways. Now he can kill this Frenetic Sliver, but we have another one coming back. Alright, so we have Gale Rider and mana left. Do we need to play the Gale Rider? What if I activate Mutavault, cast Gale Rider, swing? Now maybe we just don't need to cast the Gale Rider. Yeah, maybe it doesn't matter. I mean, Verdict or Anger are the things to play around at this point. Let me go ahead and do this. Giving him flying right here doesn't matter. I mean, we only have one regenerate up regardless. And we don't need to add to the board. It's sort of tempting to do it. I don't think it does much so. And I mean, yeah, we can try. It's hard because it becomes 50-50 is whether or not we keep it after the board wipe. If he has the board wipe. So this is 6, 7, 8, 9. But if we file this and it's lethal, but is this lethal if we were to just file this in anyways? It would then be 9, 12. If we just went all in on that. I don't think the Gale Rider changes the math too much here. Does a little. I just don't want to commit too many to the board if we don't have to. Let's go for it though. Because, I mean, if he gets to where he's bolting, every point matters, especially when we're going to end up pumping it. All right, let's see what he does here. The 50-50 chance of not losing it in the first place can kind of pushes it over the top for me. Plus, this very well could be a thing where, we win, lose. Like, he tries to anger here like that. We win a flip, we lose a flip, and we then play our Sinu, try to kill him. But let's go ahead and Regenerate this guy. Oh, I have to... Oh, or just flipping. Regenerate. We'd have to obviously follow our guy in to do that. That's not what we want to do. Alright, we lost the flip on that guy. Alright, we won the flip on that guy, so that's pretty important. We get to retain one of our frenetic slivers. Alright, I lost the flip on 2 of them. So we got the 2-for-1 with the anger. Honestly, not that good. He's down to 2 cards in hand. I think I'm gonna let this return. Now I'm going to vial in the Sedge Sliver, because we have regeneration up. And he's just gonna let us have our turn. Great. Okay. So do we have lethal? Activate both of these. It's 8. I can activate one of them, get in for 9. I can activate both of them, swing for lethal. Our opponent has 2 cards in hand, though. And we lose the ability to cast Collected Company. If I just attack for 6? And if he finds a way to deal with our board on his next turn, that's when we pull the trigger on the company. Then again, if he's bolting something, I think we get in with 1. Now, I understand the appeal to prisoning lethal here, but we don't need to, and we can play around the most this way. Because if he's bolting something, he's not even bolting our Mutavault, he's bolting one of our other guys to try to kill him. Yeah. That's fine. He falls to 1 now. The Gale Rider Sliver would be the difference right here. If we'd got that flip. One of the reasons I played it because I knew it would be close like this. It's tempting to present lethal there, but there's just a lot of things it sort of fails to. And it just takes a risk we don't need. What if he has Snapcaster Bolt and, sure, we don't lose our guy or whatever, but... Okay, so we'll go ahead and try to flip this thing out. Tails, you won the flip. Okay. I think we're dead even on the flips. Maybe we're up 1. Alright, so the problem for our opponent here is that I know how to play, and if he cryptic commands down our team, which is at this point, I just activate Mutavault and kill him. So we'll see if that's what happens here. I'll explain the interaction. Yeah, it looks like he's thinking about it. Okay, so here's the way this works. Okay, so what happens is we went to the beginning of combat. I pass priority, and my opponent gets priority. With his priority, if he had done nothing, then both players would have passed priority. We would have moved into combat. I would have chosen my attackers, at which point nothing can be done. Your creatures are your creatures. Instead, he's using his priority to tap all of our creatures and draw a card. Sure. So what that means is this is going to resolve. It's going to tap both of our creatures down, like so. But now, because he had a response, before we actually move out of the beginning of combat and into the declare attacker step, both players receive priority again. And because of that, we can activate our Mutavaults. And obviously now that we have Mutavaults, he only has 1 mountain and we have 2 Mutavaults, so he's going to die. Unless it's just dead. Slaughter Pact or something, but there you go. That was a good game. Honestly, I hope that obviously it was nice we won, and I didn't even need to cast the Collected Companies, but I hope that is maybe a lesson. It's applicable to more than just this deck, but just because you're playing a deck that wants to jam creatures and bash them to death, it's sometimes more important to understand what they're trying to do. And what they want you to do is throw creatures on the board and kill them and kill them and kill them, and then tap out for their big spell, their Nahiri or whatever, and go on to win the game. the way we played that game, we were cognizant of what they could have at every single point, and at no point did we ever open ourselves up to those spells blowing us out. We were always in a position. Now, obviously, we had great cards like Sedge Sliver and Frenetic Sliver to make that stuff bad. But even if you're playing a deck like Moorfolk, which is a deck I have the most experience with, you can do a lot of the same tricks. Your Silver Gills and your Mutavaults, and the way you play your Lords out, and the way you keep up your Vapor Snags to blank their removals, things like that. There's a lot of different ways that you can really take a match like that and make it hard for your opponent, besides just having a bunch of creatures. So that was a really fun match, actually. I love playing against these Nihiri decks. They're very interactive. You get to play lots of good Magic. Lots of relevant decisions were made. So that was a lot of fun. Good game.